He decided to hold off on moving in until the authorities could investigate. Derek would go alone and working on the house. A few weeks later, a third letter arrives.
Murders, mysteries, unexplained stories, and our family's crazy opinions on them all. Join us now. The Family School of Thought is in session.
Okay, welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us once again this week for the Family School of Thought. Appreciate you guys tuning in, and if we don't say it another 10 more times throughout the episode, like, share, and subscribe. We would appreciate it. We want to hear your comments at the Family School of Thought at gmail.com. Mm-hmm. You got that covered, Cass?
I think so.
Okay, good. Well, let's start out with the weather in Portland. How was it today?
It was pretty good. It was sunny. It was kind of cold. But I think it might have been the first non-rainy day in a minute. Not sure. It was sunny though.
Do you guys have time?
Daylight savings.
So you're still 3 hours off from us.
Yeah,
And am I mistaken that we're done with that? This is going to be the permanent.
This should be the last one, I think.
But I heard that there were decisions being made in December about that, so it could get extended through to next year or to 2024.
Oh.
So, but I think we're like at the point where it's going to be done, where we won't. We'll spring forward, but then once in the spring, in March or whatever we do. But I don't think we will fall back ever again.
Okay.
So,
I was thinking this is that because we're off of daylight saving time now, right?
Maybe I don't know. I'm not sure.
I don't know neither. What do I know? Okay. All right. Well, Jess, do you got some fun facts for us today?
I got some fun facts. I don't know. They're not too interesting this week, but here we go. Mental floss, amazing facts. The average cumulus cloud weighs roughly about 1.1 million pounds.
The what?
The cumulus cloud, the rain cloud.
Mm-hmm.
That weighs that much?
1.1 million pounds.
Wow.
So there you go.
How does it stay in the sky like that?
I don't know. Magic.
Gravity.
God.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, it makes sense though. Think about you get a sopping wet towel that weighs, that's pretty heavy, but yeah. So, and then Sesame Street, we all know Sesame Street, I think, right? Sesame Street's Count Von Count, love of numbers, is not really just a character quirk, that he has. In historic vampire folklore, vampires are often afflicted with arithmania. I think I said that right. Arithmania, which is an obsessive compulsion to count.
Wow. Do you think that's what their intentions were when they
probably?
That's kind of cool.
But count what?
I don't know. The dead bodies.
It is a
sucking.
One. Kind of like autism. They always have to count everything.
Well, I guess.
It is a people have that where they have to count everything.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's obsessive compulsive disorder. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I just don't get how it's revolving around vampires. Yeah.
Yeah. I think you gotta suck for 5 seconds. A 1, a 2. There you go.
All right.
So okay. Last little amazing fact. Susanna Dora Salter was secretly nominated for mayor of Argonia, Kansas, as a prank in 1887. And she ended up winning the election and served a 1-year term as America's first female mayor. Interesting. As a prank.
Interesting.
Maybe we should try that.
I don't think that'll go over well.
Oh yeah, we've done that.
Listen, there's some towns that the mayor is a dog, So that the fact that
Yeah.
they would rather have a dog than a woman in power tells you a
How
lot about some towns.
I got a fact.
Sure.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it does.
47 years ago today, what happened? Can you guys guess?
47 years ago today. November.
Dee, you should know this because you told me it last night.
Okay, so it would have happened in
Superior.
70s.
No, 47 years ago.
1975.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I just said, didn't I?
No, you said 1970.
And it happened on Lake
In the
Superior.
1970s.
70s.
Oh,
in the 70s.
Yes. It was in 1975.
Janis Joplin performed for the first time.
She was
She
long
died?
dead by then.
Oh.
Oh,
She did die in 1970.
that is true. Yeah, I agree. I didn't think about that. Okay, I'm
Edmund
thinking.
Fitzgerald sang.
What?
The Edmund Fitzgerald sang.
Oh, yeah. I
Mm.
should have known that. Yeah. I mean, I did know that, but I should have remembered that.
I guess
We
I
knew
never realized it
somebody
was
that
in the
was on that ship.
75.
Right?
What?
I said
What?
we knew somebody that was on that ship.
We knew somebody that was on that
Not
ship.
when
Not
it
when it
sank.
sank, but they had been on that ship. Yes, a family friend. Yes.
I
that
guess I
worked on
never
the ship.
realized that it was in the 70s. I guess I always thought it was like a 60s thing.
No, I remember. I can remember the day when it died. When it sank.
Really? When it
Yeah.
sank? Wow.
And I would have been. Well, I'd been. Well, I'd only been 2 then.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
That's
Anyways, I remember.
weird because your son was born in 83. So
84.
Yeah.
I thought you were 84.
Nope,
No,
85.
she's 85.
Oh, well. No, that's definitely weird still.
Anyways, that happened 47 years ago today, and I remember it very well. And we've
there-
all been to the spot where you could look at it, right?
I was just gonna say,
Yes.
yep, you can actually go and look at it, and it's actually really, really cool. So if anybody wants to take a tour of where the Edmund Fitzgerald sank, it's in Paradise, Michigan, right?
Whitefish Point.
Whitefish Point, Paradise. Yeah,
Yeah.
Paradise.
It's in Lake Superior, which I've been saying somebody needs to do Lake Superior because it has
Yeah.
a lot of shipwrecks
Wow.
Yeah.
and it's very mysterious. It's the world's largest freshwater lake, deepest
Yep.
freshwater
Cold.
lake.
Deepest and the coldest. Yeah.
Mhm. Well, it's probably super
Interesting.
cold because it's super deep.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, so
And the waters are very clear, so you can see
How deep
really
is
far
it?
down.
How deep
I
is it?
don't know.
Maybe aliens live down below.
Maybe when you do your
Jar Jar-
episode on
Jar
the-
Jar Binks, his
Superior.
community lives down there.
The Garkins, is that what they're called?
Okay,
I don't know.
Cass, do you have a song for us this week?
I do. I have a song this week. It's so I don't know if anybody here has watched the TV show Community.
No.
I've seen it.
Well, it was a very popular show. It's been canceled and come back quite a few times. It has a huge cast of comedians. You know, Chevy Chase, Donald Glover, Joel McCain. I think
Mhm.
I don't know.
Mikhail?
Either way, Mikhail. Their theme song that starts out the show is a very upbeat, very kind of like happy song, it seems. But it is not. And the song is At Least It Was Here by the 88. And if you really listen to the lyrics that are in the TV show's opening song, it talks about somebody contemplating suicide and contemplating hanging themselves.
Oh.
It has lyrics such as "Give me some rope to tie me to a dream, give me the hope to run out of steam. I can count the seasons, but I can't count the reasons. One by one, they all fade away." And
How is that
yeah,
a uplifting song?
it's not.
The way it's sung.
But that's the thing is it has it's almost like Pumped Up Kicks by
Yeah.
Foster
right,
People, where it's got
right.
this very upbeat, like, you know, tempo, and like it's got you just kind of jamming along with it, and then you
what would make them? Because isn't the one guy really the creator of that show?
He is, but I'm sure he just picked a song and like
what made him
it
pick
is
that song?
maybe it is about college and community college, and it's about a struggling study group of people, some of who are in their later years still in community college, and college is one of the biggest places for young people to commit suicide. So I'm sure it was intentional.
Huh.
Yeah.
What we doing?
It's a song about suicide.
There you go.
All righty. Very good. Okay, we ready to get started?
I think so.
And D, you're up?
Nope.
All right. I guess I'll wing it. I'll do a show. How about that? Okay. All right. My topic is The Watcher.
Oh, like the Netflix.
You guys know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So in June of 2014, Maria and Derek Broaddus purchased a $1.3 million home at 657 Boulevard in Whitefield, New Jersey. Just a few blocks away from Maria, her childhood home. It was then, at that time, it was the nation's 38th safest town in America. The Broaddus and their 3 children were very excited to be moving into this area because it was a very upscale, area, and they were very excited to go to school there and just start to live their lives there. But 3 days after the sale, the purchase, Derek went to the house before they moved in, was doing some painting. And they planned on doing a lot of renovations, so they weren't going to move in right away. But he went 3 days later, and he decided to check the mail and gets a letter in the mail. And the letter was in a stock envelope, square envelope, and very fancy. Written on the envelope was to the new family. Or the new owners, I'm sorry, to the new owners. And then inside was a typewritten letter, but the type was signed in cursive. And so I'll read you the first letter they got. Dearest new neighbors at 657 Boulevard, allow me to welcome you to the neighborhood. 657 Boulevard has been the subject of my family for decades now. And as it approaches, it's the 110th birthday. I have been put in charge of watching and waiting for its second coming. My grandfather watched the house in the 1920s, and my father watched the house in the 1960s. It is now my time. Do you know the history of the house? Do you know what lies within the walls of 657 Boulevard? Why are you here? I will find out. Do you need to fill the house with young blood? I requested. Better for me. Was your house too small for your growing family, or was it in greed to bring me your children? Once I know their names, I will call them and draw them too. So, first of all, it's written kind of weird, like the language in it. And so obviously they're very alarmed when they get the letter. Can you imagine you're just moving into a house and you get a letter like that?
No.
Pretty creepy. So of course they were very alarmed. So they contacted the police, but they also contacted the former owners of the house who had lived there for 23 years, the people they bought the house from. And they asked if anything weird had ever gone on. And they said, No, nothing in all the 23 years we lived here, nothing ever went on. However, just a few days before they moved out, they got a letter similar, just like that, written on that same stack of paper. It was by the watcher, and but they just threw it away. Just thought it was a prank and threw it away. They didn't think nothing of it.
Mm-hmm.
2 weeks later, the Broaddus's had still not moved in, but they were at the house cleaning, and like I said, they were going to do a bunch of construction to the house, have new countertops and new kitchen put in and stuff. So they're there, kind of taking care of business, and a second letter comes in the mail. And this time it lists the kids' names. It says it mentions that one of their daughters was on the back patio painting at an easel, and so it's clear that somebody
Is actually watching them.
Actually watching their house, watching them and their house, and they're close enough where they know their names,
Mm-hmm.
So the second letter is 657 Boulevard is anxious for you to move in. It has been years and years since young blood ruled the hallways of the house. Have you found all the secrets in the house yet? Will the young bloods play in the basement, or are they too afraid to go down there alone? I would be very afraid if I were them. It is far away from the rest of the house. If you were upstairs, you would never hear them scream. Will they sleep in the attic, or will you all sleep on the second floor? Who has the bedroom that faces the street? I'll know as soon as you move in. It will help me to know who is in which bedroom. Then I can plan better. All the windows and doors on 657 Boulevard allow me to watch you and track you as you move through the house. Who am I? I am the watcher, and have been in control of 657 for the better part of 2 decades now. The Woods family turned it over to you. It was their time to move, and kindly sold the house when I asked them to. I pass by many times a day. 657 Boulevard is my job, my life, my obsession. And now you are two Broaddus family. Welcome to the product of your greed. Greed is what brought you past 3 families in the 657 Boulevard, and now has brought you to me. Have a happy moving in day. I will be watching. And he misspelled their name, which is interesting.
So he's watching, but he's just listening.
But not, yeah. Okay. So after that, the family, let me make sure. After that, the Broaddus stopped bringing their kids to the house. And when working on the house, it was mostly just Eric that would go there and take care of stuff. And he was just overseeing the renovations on the house. He decided to hold off on moving in until the authorities could investigate. Derek would go alone and working on the house. A few weeks later, a third letter arrives that says, "Where are you? Where have you gone to? 657 Boulevard is missing you." And so the third letter says, "The house is crying from all the pain it is going through. You have changed it and made it so fancy. You are stealing its history. It cries for the past and wants to be used to be in the time when I roamed the house in its halls. The 1960s were a good time for 657 Boulevard, when I ran from room to room, imagining the life with rich occupants there. The house was full of life and young blood. Then it got old, and so did my father. But he kept watching until the day he died. And now I watch and wait for the day when the young bloods will be mine again. 657 Boulevard is turning on me. It's coming after me. I don't understand why. What spell did you cast on it? I used to be my friend and now it is my enemy. I am in charge of 657 Boulevard. It is not in charge of me. I will fend off its bad things and wait for it to become good again. It will not punish me. I will rise again. I will be patient and wait for the past and for you to bring the young bloods back to me. 657 Boulevard needs young blood. It needs you. Come back. Let the young blood play again like I once did. Let the young blood sleep in 657 Boulevard. Stop changing it and let me alone.
He's a rambler. Got
A
lot
rambler.
got a lot to say.
So, yeah, who would write letters like that?
So, to me, this sounds like somebody who maybe as a kid lived at this house, like his parents owned this house. I say he, but I don't know the gender, but so like a child whose parents had owned this house. Maybe they lost the house, 1960s, and he himself cannot afford. He's now, they're probably an older person, can't afford the house, and is basically trying to scare these families out of it into like foreclosure almost to like where he can buy it. That's what it sounds like. That's what it sounds like to me. Especially like writing a letter to a family that's like the previous family that was leaving. It seems like, well, if you're leaving the house, can't you leave it to me?
Right. Well, we
don't know what was in that letter.
Some ideas of who they think who's writing this, because the authorities are working on it. But the owners are very upset, so they're not working well with the owners, because they're blaming everybody. They're like, you need to go,
Well, as they should. Anyways, if this person is threatening their children.
So they stopped bringing the kids there. By the end of the year, the investigation. Now it's been 6 months. By the end of the year, the investigation had come to a stall. Meanwhile, the stress was causing issues with the family. Derek was suffering from depression and PTSD.
PTSD.
What is that?
PTSD.
Yeah. Okay.
Post-traumatic syndrome.
Yeah.
Stress.
And Maria was dealing with paranoia, so now she's paranoid all the time. And so, only 6 months after they bought the house, they decided to put the house up for sale.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Has anything actually happened to them? Like, why does he have PTSD? Like, just from a letter? Like, that could very well be a prank.
They are very traumatized. And actually, they file a lawsuit against the Woods because they should have informed them of that letter.
Oh,
the Woods
the family.
They filed a lawsuit because they said, you should have informed us of this letter. And they're treating it like if I bought a house and I found out there was a murder there afterwards, and they informed me of that, or that type of stuff, or a ghost. Has
there been speculation that maybe they did this themselves? Because this seems like it seems like an overreaction to some letters that are. And
this is out in New Jersey, and the area is very old. And the houses are huge homes, and they're very expensive. It was a $1.3 million house, so it's very expensive, very historical, So, anyways, they decided to sell the house. However, because of so many rumors going around about
they couldn't sell it.
Yeah, now you can't sell it.
Not only that, but they just bought it, and the market's changed, so they're not going to get their money back out of it. And a reporter had gotten a hold of this, and it totally went viral that, about these letters. And so media is outside the house, and it's just a big mess, So now they can't unload this house. So they decide, they have a company that decides they want to buy it, but they're going to tear the house down and build 2 homes on this property, right? And so they want to go with that because they're going to give them back the money they want for it. But the town, they're like, no way. We're going to let that happen. This is a historical town. This is like the prominent house in the town. It's like, and it's historical. It's been there for 100 years, and we're not going to let this happen. So they sue. So there's all these lawsuits now going back and forth, and finally the city says, yeah, we're not going to let you do that. So you're just stuck with the house. So finally they get these renters to come in. So now at least they're going to make rent off the house. And, but the renters, they make them sign this contract or a clause in their contract that says if any stuff happens, they're out. You can't hold them to their lease. And so, well, of course, they're there 2 weeks, and guess what happens? They get
a letter.
But they decided they were going to stay because they promised to put a bunch of security cameras around the property. And stuff. So
That's what I was thinking.
I think they would to start with.
Right. Again, this seems like an overreaction for not a lot of things happening and not a lot of evidence that there's actually somebody
right. And
with
then
intent watching you.
Christmas time comes, and several of the neighbors and people that were really the ones they were coming down on about tearing the house down, they all get letters from the watcher. And so finally, they have all these suspects, they think it is. And one is there's a family that lives behind them, and she's in her 90s, but she has several 6-year-old kids that live with her, and they're not right. They're kind of slow. And this one guy, he kind of wanders around the neighborhood and wanders through people's yards and will look in their windows, and the whole neighborhood just kind of lets it go because he's, older. And
Boo Radley.
He's just exactly. Right. So they don't do anything about it. Well, so the police are on this, and they think, okay, he's written these letters, and they keep, questioning him, and he's like, no. And they decide it's probably not him because he wouldn't be able to write a letter like that. His mind, he's, whatever. But his sister, who is a historical person who keeps track of, the homes in the area and everything, they keep questioning her. And, but she won't admit it. And they kind of let that fall to the side. They did do DNA testing on the envelopes, and they find out it's a woman that's doing it. A woman is licking the envelope anyhow, So, and then, let's see.
Rookie mistake to put your DNA on a letter that you're sending.
Well, what year did this take place?
Well, you know what? Maybe whoever wrote the letter had a woman do it.
Yeah.
To throw them off.
Well, yeah, because when did this happen? When was this all?
It started in 2014.
Oh,
Right.
I guess I was thinking it was a while ago.
No, it was in 2014 when they bought the house.
Okay.
But they never moved into the house the whole time.
Right. Yeah.
And the whole time it's really, legal battles and, and like I said, they were renovating the house still after they weren't moving in. They're still doing all these renovations to the house, which is curious. Why would you be spending that much more money? They're supposed to spend over $1 million in renovations, which is almost the price of the house.
Yeah. I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt, but it definitely sounds like this is a scam.
Yeah. And so then, and then of course, then they think it's the family themselves. They think it's the father,
I think it is.
because the police, they kind of feel like it's them. Oh no, then there's another kid in the neighborhood who is a video guy, and he, what do you call it? Okay,
Videographer.
and his name is the Watcher. So they found his girlfriend one time parked in a car outside the front of this house. So they're like, oh, this is just a prank with all the kids and, involved in that. And then they discover that the letters that all the neighbors got came from him, the owner.
The kid? Oh, yeah.
No, the owner.
And that he was just mad because of they, wouldn't let him do it. So he decides to do this, So now, and he admits to it. He goes, yeah, that was me. I was just mad, because of all these lawsuits going and, but also the 60-year-old who lives with his mother who's 90, his father died in the 60s. So that's when they think that was when there was a change. She said, I've been watching the house since the 60s, so it fit that whole thing. And they would have been able to see the daughter painting on that easel.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's also another family that just sits out in their backyard and watches this house. Like right away, like why are these people just sitting there in lawn chairs watching their house? It was really creepy, So, there was a lot of, the whole neighborhood is in on it, trying to get these, they don't like these people, they want them out, and it's a historical town, so they want to make sure that they pick, the people that are in it or something like that. But the police think it's Derek, and they are accusing him of the first thing they think is he got in way over his head to buy in this house, and he knows he cannot afford it, so he's trying to get out of it. Or the other angle they're doing is they're trying to start like they're going to sell this as a story, make a movie out of it, or a reality show. You know what I mean? So you don't know.
They did.
But they were offered. I think they were offered $1 million or something, and he turned it down. So it kind of like, I don't know, you don't.
Well, they made the Netflix show, so they're getting money out of
But
this.
this Netflix shows it's not them making it. They're not.
Yeah, but they still have to get royalties. Like they can't use their
they can't
characterizations without paying these guys.
The show. Have you guys seen the movie or the show on Netflix?
Yes.
I haven't watched it.
It's really good. It's really good.
It is.
And they have a lot of different angles. Of course, it's for a show. So that didn't really happen. But like one angle was the realtor who sold them the house.
Yeah.
It was always her dream to have this house. So she's the one that did it, thinking they're going to go into bankruptcy. Then I'm going to snatch up this house.
That's what
Yeah. And so that was a pretty good angle. And in the movie, she does buy the house.
Yeah. Right.
Because she's on them all the time. She's friends with Maria. The whole time when she starts telling Maria about it, she's like, just sell the house. I can find you what, I can get you, and so she's encouraging them to do that. Yeah. And
she's in the Netflix show, like spoiler alerts right now, but like in the Netflix show, the realtor is in a relationship with the city's police officer or whatever. And so it's like he's kind of in on it. Right. And like, trying to help out the realtor on, like, oh, this isn't really happening. Like it's all in your head. Like it was like a whole gaslighting situation on the family. That's how like the show was kind of premised.
Right.
Well, the thing is
that was the movie.
But I was going to say, that's the thing is that tells you that the family had say on what happened in the show, is that it favored them more than anything. But also, like, even so, like, even if this whole town is like against you and doing all this stuff, it's just letters at this point. Like, nothing has actually happened to this family for it to be so overreacted about, like, we got to sell the house, we got to do this, we got a lawsuit till that we can't leave, we can't do this. So, like, it just seems like such an overreaction to, like, a prank. Like, even if the town is in on it, it's a prank.
Right. Well, it could be very threatening. I mean, I would be threatened.
It really could, but again, especially if nothing really happens to it, like if nothing really comes of it.
Your names, They know, you know.
But they've spelt it wrong, so they're just listening to people talk about you. But also, again, like you said, this is in 2014. If it was that much of a concern, put up security cameras. Put up a security system.
Security cameras all over the place. But
so, like, that's the reaction to a threatening letter.
In the movie, the mom won't stay there. The kids in the movie
they go to a hotel. Yeah.
In the movie, they move into the house, but they're only there a few days, and they move into a hotel because they're so afraid. And the father stays there, but in one of the video, they're rewatching the video, and a girl gets in bed with him in the middle of the night, and he doesn't realize this until he's watching the video, right?
I mean, yeah, that's creepy, but that's just a dramatization,
right? Well, and nobody believes him, so the wife and him split up over it. They think it's a girlfriend, you know, and nobody believes them that it was.
Yeah, because it's like the doors weren't ever like the security, because they had a security system in this show, in the TV show. Like it's like a multi-series, like a mini-series type of thing.
Yeah.
And so like the security alarm didn't turn off at any point, so they can't figure out how this person got into the house. The girl got into the house, and so they're like, you know, like he must have let her in, the dad or whatever. Where it was later discovered that there was tunnels underneath the house.
I was gonna say either tunnels underneath or the person's living in the attic.
Right. Well, and in the movie, the crazy guy neighbor, the 60-year-old who wanders around, they find him in the.
Yeah.
They have
a dummy.
Dummy
What?
A dummy waiter.
A dumb waiter.
A dumb waiter. Yes. Dummy waiter. I like mine better.
It's got a dummy? What is a dummy doing there? Is it Dave? Like, I don't understand.
But eventually, in 2017, they sold the house for like $750,000. So they lost a bunch of money, $500,000, and the family has not admitted to any of the letters, or they've never learned any more about the Watchers, and the people who bought it have not had any issues or problems. Oh, you know what was really cool in the movie? This was really clever, I thought. In the movie, there was a kid who, in the 60s, his friend lived in the house. So he was there a lot, right?
Yeah.
And he fell in love with this house. You know, as a kid, he fell in love with this house, and he knew all the wood that was used to build it and every detail of it. So he grows up and he becomes a school teacher.
A teacher.
So every year, the senior class, one of their projects is they have to go around town. Like I said, it's a historical town, so there's a lot of old houses. And they have to find a house in the town, and they have to write a love letter to the house. And they have to actually mail it to the people.
Right.
Not to the people, but to the house. And it's a project they do. And it becomes a big hit, and everybody wants
in
to
the town. It's like something everybody looks forward to. Yeah.
So they're thinking, and again, they're thinking, okay, that's who the Watcher is. And he gets a divorce, and it was a nasty divorce, and they bring these letters to his ex-wife, and she reads them, and she goes, oh yeah, that's him. You know, he was in love with that house. He never stopped talking about it, you know, and that's just the way he talks. And yeah, it was like him. So, but that was in the movie. But to this date, nobody's ever been held accountable.
Yeah, they've never figured out who the Watcher was.
But even if it was,
I think it's the family. I think it's
that's kind of what I feel
Amityville
like.
Horror kind of thing, where they just bought the house and they couldn't afford it, and they got in over their head, and they came up with a story that they thought would sell the house or sell stories.
I don't think
which it did.
Think myself. I don't think it's the whole family. I think it was the father.
Yes,
You know,
I agree. Yeah,
like I said, she grew up just blocks away from this house, so this was probably, you know, her house. She always dreamed of being in this house, and so he said, "I'm going to get you that house," you know. And then once they got it, he realized that we're never going to be able to afford this house, you know.
Yeah.
And,
either that, or when I was watching the show too, I'm like, it has to be one of the neighbors. Like, was like, it started off was like, oh, like, welcome to the community. We don't know who you are, and then like a joyful, like, kind of note, And then they freaked out and took it in a like a darker manner, in a darker sense.
Mhm.
And then like went to the police and all that kind of stuff. And then, like the neighbor, like a neighborhood kid kind of heard about it and then continued doing it. So it started out as like something that was supposed to be like, oh, welcome to the community.
Even the Woods, the family before, he could have easily written that letter to them.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Who could have wrote the letter to the Woods?
Derek.
Yeah.
Easily wrote the letter to the people he bought it from, threatening them, so it fit into his narrative.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was also thinking when you're saying, like, I know it was a part of the TV show, so it probably didn't happen, but it could have just been, like you said, Jessica, it could have been somebody, like a kid, writing a love letter to this house. They took it, the family took it threateningly, I guess. I just don't find, I just don't understand the, threatening part of that. And then people thought it was so stupid that they found it threatening that they were like, well, you want a threatening letter? All right, let me write you another. We'll write you another one.
Well, they did, find that it's the same person writing this letter. It wasn't like multiple people because it was typewritten.
Yeah, it was a specific typewriter, and they had with the typewriter one, like the Y was off just a little. But in the movie or in the TV, the miniseries, the dad, part of it was like the dad wrote one of the letters. And that was because they had a private investigator kind of helping the family and stuff because the police weren't helping them. And the private investigator said, look, all of these were by the same person except for this one. There's a difference in this one. And then the dad admitted it later on that it was him that wrote it.
Okay. I was going to ask if his letters to the neighbors were the same, but obviously not.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Do you, Dad? In real life, his letters to the neighbors.
The letters he sent to the neighbors.
Oh,
were they written on the same typewriter?
I don't know why they.
But were they written on the same or similar typewriter?
Well, it was, close. Obviously, it wasn't exactly because that's why they
figured it out.
He had to admit that he wrote them, so there was something off on them. Well, and
what if it's the wife and she's just trying to make him feel crazy?
What if it's one of their kids? And their kids are just
evil. One of their kids didn't want to move into the house.
I kind of thought that when I was watching the movie too, because in the movie they had a son and a daughter, and the daughter's like, "You're pulling me away from." They moved out of Manhattan, and she's like, "You're pulling me away from my life, all of my friends," because she was in high school at the time, whatever. You are destroying my life. And I kept thinking too, I was thinking that too, it's one of the kids because they're mad at their parents for forcing them to move. And in the movie, at least, I think both the parents had jobs in the city. So it's why are we moving away from the city?
Because in the movie,
she was an artist. Yeah.
She'd become so popular that she's wealthier than ever because of. But also the neighbors were getting very upset because, again, it's a small community. It's a historical community. Now they have people from all over the world hanging out, trying to, taking pictures and questioning them. And, it's causing a big circus in their town. Yeah. I haven't seen any real pictures of the house. Have you guys? I mean, in the movie, I did, but anyways, it's an interesting story. I know a couple that was a biracial couple, and they had about a 1-year-old kid. And the very first day they moved into a house, somebody wrote them a letter we don't appreciate you being in their neighborhood. Don't let your kid come outside. We'll be watching. And that's horrible. Can you imagine moving in the first day you're in your house and getting a letter?
Yeah. We'll see that, even that. So that, obviously we can see the reasoning behind the threat there, know, but this family, were they just all white people?
I'm sure they were all white.
So it just, I don't know. I guess that's unfair. That's unfair to say, but there's definitely a difference in my mind of like,
Mm-hmm.
those people are saying the reason we are threatening your children is because we don't like, mixed people. We don't appreciate, you commingling.
Right.
But this family is just like, oh, well, I really like the house. So,
Mm-hmm. Right.
Well,
got
and
some
this
young
letter
children.
was written from the house. These letters were like really. No, it wasn't about the house. I mean, it was somebody that was.
It was watching the house. It was like letters to the house.
And
Right.
it was more like appreciate the house from what I, gathered
Well,
from the thing. It was
and
like, you
they
need to
were
appreciate
upset.
the house.
They were upset that they were remodeling the house because
Yeah, right.
You're ruining this house.
And I agree. Well, I mean, I guess I don't agree.
I don't know.
You get to
Who
do
knows?
you get to do whatever you want with your house, like you bought it. But I do see, like, especially now in this kind of housing market, we see so many people flip these like amazing
Buy a house
houses
and-
instead of putting the work into like making them more functional as they
Mhm.
are. And it's kind of sad to like see a house that has like all this history and all this
Mhm.
like beautiful woodwork get turned into something that you could find in a magazine,
Right.
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 But that's what, like, I know, like, houses that are registered as historical homes or buildings that are registered as historical buildings, you can't change those. Even if you own them, you buy them and you're the owner, you have to go through the historical commission to get approval on any
Mhm.
changes that you make.
Right.
So it's like you could say, oh, I want to take down this stair banister and put in a metal one, and then you have to go and put it before the board and get it approved.
to
And they could
approve,
say,
yeah.
no, we don't agree with that. You have to stick with this history. It's documented here, here, and here, whatever. And so, but I don't. This wasn't a historical house. It was just an old
I
house.
don't think so.
So
But it was like the prominent house in the town. And,
yeah, right.
it's like one of those houses that everybody drives by every day and go, "Oh my God!" Because imagine living in that house,
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's it. And maybe like the town either found out or just thought that the family wasn't actually going to stay there, that they were just going to flip the house and sell it for more money. And so they decided to, get rid of the people.
Right. And it could be that way too. Mhm.
I know that I guess it didn't just happen recently, but I think last year in Utah, flipping has become such a big kind of money-making scheme, that this house in Utah like sold for like, I think maybe $400,000, and the people basically just flipped it and tried to sell it back for like $1 million in this like very like middle-class neighborhood, and the neighbors were having none of it, and they basically destroyed the house. Like literally spray painted it, broke all the windows, like did all this stuff, and they're like, no, you're not gonna try to
Right.
flip a house and
Right.
sell it for more, because it's hurting our economy, it's hurting our
Right.
hurting our housing market right now, is all these people trying to flip these houses and sell them for outrageous prices.
Yeah. Matt and I watched The Watcher, and we found it interesting, but we like our house, it's not really anything too special. But when I worked for the paper, we had somebody that came into the newsroom and was talking, and somehow I brought up like where I lived, like what house I lived in. And this is somebody that has a prominent business in our town. I'll tell you guys offline.
I've heard this before, but yeah.
Yeah, and they said, "Oh, I grew up in that house. That was my parents' house." And we're like, "Oh, okay." And they're like, "Yeah, we tried to buy it when Matt and I bought it, like the year." And like, "Oh, you guys like bought it before we even were able to put a bid in on it." And he was very disappointed because he wanted to buy the house. He literally lives behind us now. Like he lives in one of the houses behind us. So
Oh, that's kind of creepy.
he
Yeah,
drives
that is
by.
really creepy.
I want to say he drives by every day, not because he drives by. It's just like that's the way he has to like drive by our house basically every day, and so it's not creepy for him to drive by, but he does often slow down and like look at the house and stuff. Yeah, and I remember
Does
him
he
telling me,
have to go that way? Because It's
Yeah,
completely right. There's a river
he
behind
could
you.
He could go a different way, but I mean, it's quicker to go the way he goes.
But you
I mean,
and,
it makes
and
sense.
did they disclaim to
Yeah.
you that there was a guy in your basement?
No.
Somebody smoked. It
Could
was
be
his
his
dad
dad.
smoke in the basement.
But I remember like when we were when I was working at the paper, and he's like, yeah, like if you want to sell that house, let me know because I want to buy it. And so I'm like, oh, okay, and like I didn't really think anything of it. And then I started like, it was like after the fact, I realized, oh, he lives in like the little cul-de-sac right behind our
Behind
house.
you.
And so I'm like, oh, like he drives by, and he drives by, and a lot of times he'll slow down, especially when we're doing work to the house and everything. So we just did everything to our house. We got a new roof, a new siding.
Yeah.
Well,
Did he approve of your new
I don't know.
door?
I haven't, but like
this
that's
could be a blessing for you
You
because
get a letter.
when
get a
you
letter in
do
the
want to
mail
sell
back.
it,
yeah,
when you do want
right.
to sell it, you could like, be like, well, if you
right.
want it
But I
that
kept
bad,
thinking, I'm like,
we can
we're
go
gonna end up getting-
100,000 over.
and it's what he does. I'm like, we start getting letters. It's a little creepy what he does. I mean,
Make sure he doesn't watch the show because then he'll be like, wait a minute.
Your garage door was white for many years.
My father used to smoke in the basement. He said he'd always
Yeah,
stay
You
there.
should have said, "What's your father's name?" You should ask for a
Charlie?
picture of his father.
well, it should because
Yeah.
there is. I've seen. We've had that. We've had this conversation. I've seen like a premonition of a guy down there before, and we always joked around like, oh, it's Charlie. We named him Charlie, kind of thing. But it's like, and we always like every once in a while we'll get like a whiff of like
I know.
cigarette smoke.
I
But
know.
the people we bought it from, the guy had said, oh, I wasn't allowed to smoke on the main floor, but in that little storage room, like work room area, that's where he would smoke, was down in the basement. So when like it kind of makes sense, like you would get it every once in a while, but
Do
Yeah.
you, I mean, I don't know if this is something you like think about, but does it happen, like, do you get that smell a lot when it like rains or the weather changes? Because it could be just like
yeah.
the smell in the wood and like the wood is,
Yeah,
like
I don't know.
moisture gets into
I'll
it.
have
Yes.
to pay attention a little bit more.
you let Odin just go down and play in the basement?
No, dude,
Those
No,
stairs are
He
too
was
steep.
talking to somebody down there.
we're trying to, but because there's a lot of exposed nails and everything right now, I don't want him down there
Yeah.
by himself.
No.
Renovations. And renovations is when they all come out.
Yeah.
So
So, yeah. So no, he doesn't. I would like to be
you
able
better
to
hope
get
that Charlie likes what you're doing to the basement.
it must be sure. But I'd like to be able to get it so Odin could go down there, and play down there by himself. And we'll just set up a camera so he can like be watched and stuff. But yeah.
Do you really want to do that?
Yeah, it's a baby monitor, so it's not hooked up to the internet or anything, but
I'm just saying you might see Charlie on the camera.
sure. There's been times where I kind of wonder.
Charlie.
Odin will be talking, and I'm like, who are you talking to? I'm talking to myself, Mom. Okay, fine. Yeah. But I would like, if I get a letter, I will be severely freaked out, and I will be pointing fingers to that person immediately.
You'd
Immediately.
be marching over to my house. I know you did this. Okay, that's the end of my story. And that's all there is to that.
Well, that is a good miniseries on Netflix.
Very
I do
good, yeah.
think.
I will have to watch that. I've seen like, a couple things about it, but I just didn't. Nothing
It has a good
grabbed my
cast.
attention.
Yeah, it has a good case. The realtor, I can't think of the actress's name,
Jennifer.
but
Jennifer.
yeah,
Her name is Jennifer.
yeah,
She
Jennifer
plays
something.
American Pie, the mom.
She's the Stifler's mom.
Coolidge?
Yes,
Yeah.
Jennifer Coolidge?
Yes.
Yeah, she's
Oh,
the
I gotta watch
realtor.
it now.
She's
Yeah,
the
I gotta
realtor.
watch it.
And she plays a much different part than she usually does.
That's what I was gonna say, because like I think she's very well known for being Stifler's mom, or I can't
Makes
remember
me
who
want
her
a hot
character
dog
was.
real bad.
She was in Legally Blonde, and I always think of her as the stepmom from Cinderella Story. with
Cinderella
Hilary
Story.
Duff. You
Well,
know,
she
but
played in
It's
those
salmon
Two
from
Broke Girls,
Alaska.
that TV show.
what?
She played in Two Broke Girls.
Oh yeah, yeah, I
TV
forgot.
show.
And she always plays that like ditzy, dumb person.
Mia
you know?
Farrow is in this. Mia
Who?
Farrow is in this. The Watcher.
Yeah,
It says
Mia
Mia
Farrow.
Farrow.
Yeah, yeah.
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 Yeah. I said they had a really good cast, but then Jennifer plays a much different character in
Yes.
this, and it was really good.
Yeah.
Have you
Like-
watched her other
Look like a
show
4th
out?
of July.
The White Cactus or something?
The
White
White
Lotus.
Lotus.
Lotus, yeah.
No, because we don't have HBO anymore. Man,
I don't have
get rid
HBO
of it.
either
But I was
because
just
I don't
talking.
watch enough.
I was just talking with my supervisor at work today, and we literally were just talking about both of those shows, The Watcher and The White Lotus today. And we were talking about Jennifer
Coolidge.
Coolidge and like how in The White Lotus she plays a completely different character as well. And it's like, oh, it's like we remember her as this like funny, ditzy, dumb blonde type of character, and she blows you out of the water, I think.
Well, you have to remember where Hollywood was in the 90s, where a woman
for sure.
who's a bigger figure is probably not going to get a smart role.
Yeah.
So she just played
just
to,
think-
for what they would give her.
Yeah. But I mean, she's phenomenal in The Watcher. I haven't seen The White Lotus, so I don't know, but I heard that she's phenomenal in that too. So
I started watching it. I kind of lost interest in it.
my supervisor said it's really hard in the beginning, but by the end of episode 4, you're hooked.
What is
Okay.
it?
White Lotus,
White
it's on
Lotus.
HBO. Yeah, so he said that, it's very, once you get to like the 4th episode, so it takes a little bit, but it reels you in.
Alrighty, guys.
Well,
Any last thoughts?
that was a good topic. We got way off topic,
Yeah, well, as always.
but
As always.
if you receive a letter in the mail about your house,
Make sure it's like legitimate. Don't just freak out for nothing.
and let's like take it as a compliment. Somebody just admires your house.
I want to drive back.
I mean,
the
it's
house.
all it means is that if you stand in front of your windows naked, somebody's going to see you. So it's either a good thing or a bad thing.
Well, it's a little too late for that here.
Yep,
I know.
I think it's happened at. I've had somebody
It's
at
a
my
little
house
too
that
late for
doesn't live
Jesse's
at my
neighbors.
house.
Just see me.
Dad was standing in our house when nobody else is home, naked in front of my window.
And two ladies, you've heard this story, right? So two ladies were walking by looking, and they're looking right at me, but I'm thinking they're looking at the house because it just sold, right? They're like, oh, look, the house is sold. And I'm like, nope, they're looking at me.
He was hot.
Well,
I don't remember where we were, but we weren't home. Probably at Home Depot
I
trying
was
to find
hot.
toilets.
it was you had just bought the house and it had been all closed up and it was
Yeah.
hot.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. But anyways,
Well, I truly believe it was an overreaction if they weren't responsible. Like, no matter what, it was an
Well, I
overreaction
feel like there was
to get the
more,
entire town in on it.
Yeah, I feel like there was like more to the story on, like
Maybe,
don't-
but then bring that as evidence. Like, bring
Right.
that up then.
right. And I feel like the show, to me, it made it feel like the entire town was in on it. They didn't want new people coming in. They wanted to
Right.
keep it like incestuous almost. But and that could be the real case as well. But to me, I just feel like the family was just being over dramatic. There was more to the story that like something happened where they didn't have the money to buy the house, so they were trying to get out of it, but they had legal obligations that held them to it. And
right.
I don't know.
Well, in the movie, Derek has to cash in his 401k and everything
Right.
just to get in the house, and he's expecting this big promotion. So I said, well,
Right.
when I get that promotion, it'll all come in place. Well, then he didn't get the promotion.
Well, and then the thing though too is like in the show, he gets so like worked up and distracted from this that he like he's on the brink of losing his job because he's
right.
only
And so-
devoted to this house.
And in the show, even after they've sold it, you know, they kind of cut to like a year from now, you know, think
Mhm.
he's still he wants
Yeah.
he's still
Yeah.
he can't do anything but think about who's sending this letter, you know, like
Yeah.
he's not
Yeah.
over it, you know.
Yeah. He was like completely obsessed with it.
Right.
Mhm.
And she's kind of like, just forget it, let's get on with our lives, you know. And
Yeah.
like, no, I've got to know who did this, who wrecked our lives, you know.
Mhm.
But they didn't. Like that's
You.
the thing is like whether or not these were the threatening letters, nobody wrecked your life but you. Like
And that's
you
when-
blew this out
yeah.
of the water, and now
That's
this is
when
where it's at.
Taylor Swift comes on. It's me. I'm the
I'm
problem.
the problem. It's me.
I'm not a good singer.
I kind of thought that was kind of a good angle that they wanted like a reality show or, you know,
Yeah.
to
Mhm.
sell
They
it.
wanted
That could
royalties
be-
out of it.
Especially if this happened in 2014, that's a good thing. Like, oh yeah, we're trying to like make money off of this and you know, like
Mhm.
make this whole big deal out of it. And everybody else is like, no. That could be something true. Are there YouTube videos on this house? I don't know. 'Cause that's something too. Like, did the family start creating like YouTube videos? Because 2014 was not really that long ago.
Well, for sure it did.
And it was a
go
big time for you too.
viral. The story
Right.
went viral, you know, and
Yeah,
the neighbors were all complaining because now everybody's hanging out
Right.
in the neighborhood and trying to catch, you know, a story, and they're all driving by the house and
right.
turn their neighborhood into a circus.
Yeah.
But they never moved into the house at all.
Right. In
Oh,
the show they did, but yeah, in reality they didn't move in, which is like crazy.
Yeah, I think it's an Amityville horror situation
Yeah.
where because they did the same thing. They were only there for like a day, and then all of a sudden, it was too much.
Hmm.
They were only there a day.
They were like maybe like a month, but like it was like it's a
Short
very
amount of
very
time.
short time. It like too short for it to be that bad. I don't know. I don't even think it was a month. It was a really really
Oh,
short
wow.
time.
If they had an Amityville horror, like I wouldn't be there a month.
Well, it was faked. Like that's come forward that it was faked. So it didn't happen.
I don't think it's come forward that it was fake. I think.
Yes, they've come forward and said it was fake.
Oh, really? They made
And
it up.
I did a story on it, but Lorraine and Warren, what's
Mhm.
his?
Yeah.
They blew it out of they blew it out of proportion too.
Hmm.
If they hadn't come, it wouldn't have been such a big story.
Well, I know that they blew it up. They exaggerated things, but still,
Mhm.
I thought things did happen.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. They've come forward that it was all fake. They couldn't afford the house. They needed out.
Really? That's why they couldn't afford that house?
Mm-hmm.
Who?
The
Twilight?
Amityville horror.
Oh,
Amityville Horror House, which is in Rhode Island, I think.
Hmm.
So it's pretty
It's out
close
on
to.
Brad and Kim looked right down them. We've
Hmm.
been there. We've been by it. You know, we've seen
It's on
things.
in Long Island.
yeah, Long
Yeah,
Island.
when they
Long
lived in Long Island, they lived right there.
Because
But isn't that where this story is from? Not this.
No, this
big-
is
Long
Jersey.
No,
Island.
this is in Rhode Island.
All right. That's
New Jersey.
fairly
Mom,
close.
have you been paying attention this entire time?
No.
That's fairly close.
The
It feels like
Watcher-
maybe this was.
The Watcher House is in New Jersey. The Amityville Horror is in Long Island.
Yeah.
But bringing those two parallel, like it is kind of like a parallel thing. They didn't have like, ghosts
Evidence.
or like, paranormal activities at the New Jersey house. This
Well, I
the
think
Watcher house.
I think it probably would have been
But-
harder for them to prove. Like back in the
Right.
60s, 70s, like they could get away
Right,
with this
yeah.
stuff.
But it's a pretty parallel, and I think that's a good theory on. They were like, hey, the Amityville Horror House is still like a house that it's still this house that everybody drives by, everybody wants to see.
Yeah.
And so like we could do the same thing. I think you're right. I think it was the family. I think, or like at least it was the dad, like, hey, let's create this whole big thing. Like we never even moved in because it was so scary. And then it just flopped. Yeah, it's too parallel.
But it didn't. That's the thing, is it did not flop.
True.
They got this
Yeah.
TV show. Like they got the attention they wanted.
Yeah, there you go, I guess.
Whether or not the neighbors are with them, they got the attention they wanted.
Yeah, true. And they lost, what, like $500,000 on it, but they probably just made it back from the TV show plus more, because now too they'll get royalties for every time that somebody watches the show for the rest of their lives.
Netflix. Yeah.
Anything else?
I don't think so.
Well, I've enjoyed our 2 hours together. And please, everybody, stop by next Thursday to watch our next episode. And share and like our site and give us your input at thefamilyschoolofthought@gmail.com. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.